What's up guys, it's Dorian here with Collider Games, and Just Cause 4 is out. Now the big question is this a worthy follow-up to its predecessor? And my answer is yes. So after playing it for about 30 hours, putting 30 hours in, I definitely gotta say I really enjoyed the game thus far. And it does kind of feel a little bit repetitive in some of the things from Just Cause 3, but overall, they definitely did a good job of making it its own game, standalone version of its own game. So if you haven't played the previous games, you'll definitely enjoy this one. I will say the biggest new feature that they've added was the grappling hook. Grappling hook is an essential part of Rico's character, and with this game they went all out with it. They had a retractor mode, inflatable mode, which I'll have gameplay footage over right now, where you get to shoot at things and add air balloons, which cause things to lift up, which I thought was pretty cool. And they also have jetpacks, so I thought all of those upgrades were really cool in theory, but I never actually found myself using them in combat when I was fighting enemies or anything like that. If you look on social media now, there's a bunch of cool tricks of people pimping out cars. Like you can add rockets and jetpacks to tanks or cars and shoot them up into the sky, and you get to see a lot of that, but you never really get to use them in combat. So that's one thing I really wish they would have made it a little bit more accessible to use during combat. Another great thing about this is it's not as repetitive when it comes to the missions, because it's about Rico's trying to free the city from the Black Hand, and it's basically him just going from different outposts trying to take over and help the civilizations. And in the previous game, it's mainly you going and destroying statues and stuff like that, and it did get a little bit repetitive. But with this one, it doesn't feel in a way, it doesn't feel as repetitive, because they definitely tried to diversify how you free different cities, and from this area they do different missions, which I thought was pretty cool. So another thing is the weapons. They made the weapons more accessible, a lot more easier to use, and I found myself really, that was probably one of the highlights of the game, is when you get new weapons, you unlock new weapons, you can get them supply dropped to you. So if you're about to go into a mission and you don't have any weapons, they make it real easy, especially after you've unlocked a few. You can call one of your buddies, have them drop down, and then just go up into the city or the Black Post and just destroy everything. And side note, I thought it was pretty cool that they made sure that all the soldiers that you were fighting against, they were pretty equal in there were women and men, so you're not just killing all men, you're like everybody's getting clapped. One thing I thought they could improve was the difficulty on how easy it was to kill Rico. I think I've died maybe twice in the game thus far, and that was just because I was making stupid mistakes, but they made it super hard for you to kill Rico. Like, he has the healing factor of Wolverine. If he wanted to play Wolverine in the MCU, he could go off and do that. Hashtag Rico for Wolverine. I noticed myself taking a lot of damage and never really worrying about dying, because I knew if I just got away for like maybe 2 or 3 seconds, it would go back to, you know, like on other games, like you get the red circle around you and then like you go away and then it goes away. So I guess if you're not the most experienced player, this might come in handy, but if you want a challenge like me, if you want a little bit more difficulty, then I could see that being annoying to some people, but that didn't bother me too much. That's just something I noticed. The one thing that they did make sure to highlight is the traversal methods in this, especially with gliding around this beautiful terrain and city. That was one of the highlights. It kind of reminded me of in the Spider-Man game, where you're just swinging around New York with Peter Parker, just swinging around the town, and you could do that for hours. Not saying I would want to necessarily do that with Rico for a few hours, but it was just something so magical about you being able to grapple and catapult yourself into the sky, especially at night or in sunset, and you just get to see the beautiful land around you, just flying in your wingsuit. And they make it pretty easy for you. Like, I noticed throughout the whole time, I never really needed to do a supply drop or anything to get a helicopter so I can go from one place to another, because I just wanted to, it felt more fun to do it my own way by grappling, parachuting, sailing through the sky, and just traveling that way. So that was another cool feature that's been layered throughout the previous games, but they made sure to really highlight that in this game, which was pretty awesome. The best thing I could say is if Michael Bay were to produce a video game, this would be that video game. Take that how you want. It's just non-stop action, video game explosions just everywhere, which is awesome, because it's kind of like they know what the Just Cause franchise is, and so they just went all out with it. Bigger explosions, bigger stakes, there's tornadoes, you're fighting against weather and tornadoes and stuff like that, which I never thought Rico would be doing, but it's something that it's just they have to do something bigger and better, and I can't wait to see if there is a next game. I'm really excited to see what they do with this franchise. I definitely like to see some online gameplay or some DLCs where you can play with your buddies quality or something like that, because I know Square Enix and they're doing that with a couple of their other games like Tomb Raider. So I definitely like to see them expand that into this franchise, because that's something that I think that's one of the only things that it's really missing. But overall, I had a solid time with this game. I definitely recommend it. It is out now. You can get it for PS4, Xbox 360, and I believe PC. But if you did like the previous game, then you'll definitely love this game. But if you haven't even played any of the games and you just want to jump into this one, you'll have a great time, just because of the nonstop action and being able to fly and grapple with a wingsuit that pretty much can get you anywhere. So overall, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. I definitely had a great time. There were some things like the repetitiveness from some of the missions and stuff like that that I wish that could have been that could have fixed. But overall, had a great time. Definitely would recommend it if you haven't played any of the other games. But if you have played the previous versions, then you will love this one. And if you have played it, then make sure to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought. And make sure to like and subscribe to Collider Games, and we'll have more content coming for you soon. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to follow me on Twitter at Dorian Parks and Rec, because Parks and Rec is better than The Office.